It was past midnight when Jack heard the knock. It wasn't loud, just a soft, gentle tap, like someone didn't want to wake the house, or maybe didn't have the strength. Jack lived alone deep in the countryside. No neighbors, no streetlights. Just forest, wind, and quiet. He froze in his chair. The TV was still on, some old movie playing, but he wasn't really watching it. He waited. Another knock. A little louder this time. Tap, tap. Jack stood up slowly. He walked to the door, careful not to make noise. He peeked through the window. Nobody. Just darkness. Still, something didn't feel right. He opened the door halfway and looked down. There. On the wooden porch was a small bundle, a blanket, moving. He stepped outside, his heart beating faster. He knelt and pulled the blanket open gently. Inside was a baby. Not human. Its skin was soft blue. Its eyes were closed tight, and it had small glowing lines running down its forehead, like tiny silver veins. Next to it, folded neatly, was a piece of paper. The writing was shaky, broken English. Please help. Her name Eula. Not safe, I come soon. Her mother. Jack looked around. The forest was quiet. The cold wind blew leaves across the path. He didn't know what to think. Was this a trap? A trick? A dream? But the baby moved. Just a little. A weak sound escaped its tiny mouth. It was cold, and it was real. He picked her up, careful and slow, then took the blanket and carried her inside. Inside, Jack placed the baby on the couch and turned up the heat. He grabbed a soft towel, wrapped her tighter, and sat down beside her. She opened her eyes for the first time. Big, bright, and full of fear. He didn't know what kind of creature she was, but she was just a baby, scared, hungry, alone. He gave her a small bottle of milk he had in the fridge. She didn't drink much, just sipped weakly. He stayed with her all night, watching, waiting, wondering. At 4 a.m., he heard something again, not at the door. Outside, in the woods. A branch snapped, then silence, then a low, heavy breathing. He turned off the lights and looked through the back window. A figure was standing near the trees, tall, thin, covered in a dark cloak, watching the house. Jack didn't move. He watched back. The figure took one shaky step forward, then another, then stopped. Then it fell. Jack grabbed a flashlight and rushed outside. The figure was lying on the ground, face hidden. He turned the light toward her hands. 3 fingers, pale blue skin, cuts and bruises, alien. He carefully rolled her onto her side. Her hood fell back. It was a woman. She looked just like the baby. Same glowing silver lines, same color. Her eyes were open, but barely. Eula, she whispered, barely audible. Safe? Jack didn't speak. He just nodded. The alien mother gave a weak smile and fainted. He carried her inside. She was so light he almost felt she'd vanish in his arms. He laid her on the guest bed and covered her with warm blankets. He checked her pulse. Weak, but alive. The baby made a small noise from the living room. He walked back, sat beside her, and looked between them. A mother and her child dropped at his door on a quiet night, for reasons he didn't understand. In the silence, one thought stayed in his mind. Why me? But maybe the better question was, what happens now? The next morning, Jack didn't wake up to his alarm. He woke up to silence. Too quiet. Even the birds had stopped singing. He got out of bed quickly and checked the guest room. The alien woman was still sleeping. Her skin looked dry, her breathing slow. She was alive, but barely. The baby, Eula, was awake in the living room, staring at the window with wide, glowing eyes. Jack followed her gaze. There was something in the forest. He stepped closer to the window and looked out. Nothing moved. No wind. No birds. Just trees. But Jack had lived here long enough to know silence wasn't natural. Something was watching them. He went to the back door, grabbed his old hunting rifle. It hadn't been used in years, but the feel of it gave him a little courage. Eula let out a soft cry. He turned quickly. The alien baby's eyes were fixed on the tree line again. "Someone's there," he whispered. He opened the back door slowly and stepped onto the porch. The air was cold, heavy. He walked a few steps into the woods, boots crunching leaves beneath him. Snap. A branch broke behind him. He spun around. Rifle raised at nothing, but then, movement. Quick, just behind a tree. He aimed, heart pounding. "Come out." No answer. He stepped forward, slowly, carefully, and then he saw it. A figure crouched low behind the tree. Not tall like the mother. This one was shorter, lean, dressed in dark armor, holding a scanner. "They're here," a voice whispered. "I found them." Jack's eyes went wide. "They..." Before he could react, the scanner beeped loudly. The figure panicked, stood up, and Jack got a clear look, not human. Its skin was gray-green, eyes black and soulless. A long, sharp mouth curled open in a grin. "Too late," it hissed. Then it vanished, fast, unnaturally fast, into the trees. Jack ran back toward the house, heart racing. He slammed the door shut behind him. The baby started crying. He rushed to the guest room. The alien woman, Sarah, was sitting up now, weak but awake. Her eyes locked on him. "They come," she whispered. "Who?" he asked. "Who was that?" "Hunters." Her voice cracked. "Trackers. Took others like me. I ran, I hid, but they smell blood." Jack knelt beside her. "Why would they want your baby?" Sarah looked at him with pain in her glowing eyes. "She is hybrid, born in space. Not from one world. She is special, valuable. Some want to study, others destroy." Jack felt sick. He looked down at the baby, who now stared back at him, so small, so silent. "They're not getting her," he said firmly. Sarah shook her head. "No, you don't understand. They don't stop. They kill, burn. If you keep us, you die too." Jack stood up. His voice was calm. "Then they'll have to go through me." That night, Jack stayed up, watching, waiting. He moved furniture in front of the doors, covered the windows, charged the old emergency lights, loaded the rifle. Sarah rested in the bedroom, Eula in her arms, but Jack didn't sleep, because somewhere out there in the dark woods, they were waiting too. At 3:21 a.m., the motion sensor beeped just once. Jack looked at the monitor screen. A blur, fast, shadowy. He gripped the rifle tighter. The shadow was getting closer, and he knew this house was no longer just his. Now, it was a battlefield. Morning came, but the sun felt colder than usual. Jack hadn't slept. He sat on a chair in the hallway, rifle across his lap, staring at the front door. No attack had come during the night, but the shadows outside still moved strangely. Inside, the house was quiet, almost too quiet. Then, a sound. A soft voice from the guest room. Jack stood quickly and opened the door. Sarah, the alien mother, was awake, sitting upright. Her long fingers gently stroked Eula's head. The baby cooed softly, in her arms. Sarah looked at Jack. Their eyes met for a full 5 seconds. Then, she spoke, not in her language but in his. A single word. Broken, gentle, full of feeling. "Thank you." Jack blinked. "You speak English?" She nodded slowly. "Learn little. Listen long." She pointed at his books on the shelf. "Stories I read." Jack felt something stir in his chest. He never thought anyone, especially not an alien, would care about his old dusty books. "You've been watching me for a while?" Sarah hesitated, then nodded. Safe. You feel kind, heart not closed, Jack chuckled. I've been called a lot of things, but not open-hearted. She smiled, a small, tired smile, but real. They sat across from each other, silence growing more comfortable now. Sarah looked down at her baby. Eula means light of lost stars in my tongue. Jack nodded. It suits her. He looked at the little alien child, now sleeping peacefully in her mother's arms. Why did you leave her at my door? Sarah took a long breath. I was hunted, weak, cold. She was crying. I heard you talking to Firebox. The TV? She nodded. Your voice, calm. I think maybe you help. Jack lowered his eyes. I almost didn't open the door. But you did. Jack smiled faintly. Yeah, I did. Outside, a bird finally sang again, but Jack didn't trust peace anymore, not after what he saw in the forest. The thing I saw yesterday, the one with the scanner. Do you think it's still out there? Sarah's face darkened. Yes. They follow blood trail. They mark scent, like wolves but worse. Jack stood and walked to the window. We need a plan. This house isn't a fortress. Sarah struggled to sit up straighter. You should let us go. No. She looked surprised. Jack turned to her. You left your child at a stranger's door because you had hope. I'm not going to throw that away now. She didn't answer. Her eyes filled with quiet water. She looked at him again and whispered, I have not felt safe in so long. Jack walked over and sat on the edge of the bed. He gently placed a hand on Eula's tiny hand. Her fingers wrapped around his. Something warm passed between them, not blood, not species, but trust. Then stay, Jack said softly. As long as I breathe, no one will hurt her. Sarah closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek. Thank you, she whispered again. From stars to ground. Thank you. That night, Jack cooked dinner. Just simple soup and bread, but Sarah ate slowly, like every bite was a gift. She even smiled when she tasted honey. Sweet, she whispered, like starlight. Jack laughed. That's the first time I've heard that. He held Eula while Sarah rested. She fit perfectly in his arms, so small, so fragile, so important. At midnight, Jack heard something, not a knock this time, but a whisper from his radio. Target located, awaiting strike command. He froze. Someone was listening. Someone was coming, and this time, they weren't going to knock. Jack didn't sleep that night. He sat at the kitchen table, the radio turned off and battery pulled out. His mind raced with questions. Who heard them? How long had they been listening? Were they already on the way? By morning, the answer arrived. Not with a bang, but with a polite knock at the door. Jack stood still. The knock came again, firm, controlled. Not a friend, not a neighbor. He opened the front door halfway, keeping the safety latch on. Two men in dark suits stood outside, clean, calm, smiling but not kindly. Behind them was a black van, no markings. Good morning, sir, said the taller one. I'm Agent Knox. This is Agent Hill. We're with a special division of Homeland Surveillance. Jack narrowed his eyes. What kind of surveillance brings unmarked vans to the middle of nowhere? Agent Hill smiled. The kind that doesn't like surprises. Jack didn't laugh. Agent Knox held up a small scanner. There's been unusual energy spikes near your property, signals we don't usually see on Earth. You think I'm building alien tech in my basement? Wouldn't be the first time, Hill muttered. Jack stayed calm. Look, I live alone. No labs, no towers. Just a quiet life. Agent Knox leaned slightly forward. Mind if we come in and take a look? Jack didn't answer. In the back of the house, Sarah stood behind. A curtain. She held Eula close. Her eyes met Jack's. One silent message passed between them. "Don't let them in." Jack shook his head. "I don't allow strangers inside. You want a search? Come back with a warrant." Agent Hill smiled tightly. "That's your right, for now." The agents turned around, slow and smooth. As they stepped off the porch, Knox looked back. "But do yourself a favor, Jack. If you're hiding anything, anyone, give them up. Before this gets serious." Jack closed the door, locked it, then locked it again. Sarah came out holding the baby tight. "They are not soldiers?" "Worse," Jack said. "They're the kind that make people disappear." He moved fast, packing bags, preparing the car, pulling cash from a hidden drawer. "We're not safe here anymore." Sarah looked around the home. This place, it felt like air, like peace. "It's still your home," Jack said. "But now we protect it by leaving it behind." That evening, he drove down a back road few people knew. Sarah and Eula sat in the back seat. The baby held a toy Jack had found in the attic, an old stuffed bear. She hugged it like it was her whole world. Jack checked the mirror again. Nothing behind them. For now. Hours later, they stopped at an old farmhouse Jack's uncle had left behind years ago. Abandoned, run down, but hidden. Safe. At least for the night. Jack lit a small fire inside. Sarah cooked what little food they had left. "You didn't ask why they're chasing me," she said. Jack stirred the fire. "I don't need to know why. I've seen what they are." Sarah's voice grew soft. "They fear Eula. She is born between stars. Her DNA sings. Not one song, but many. She is new. She is hope." Jack looked at her. "And that scares them?" She nodded. "Because hope is the one thing they cannot control." Outside in the forest, a satellite drone hovered. Silently. Watching, recording. Target. Located. Transmitting live feed to someone far above Earth. Someone who had waited a long time for this and would not wait much longer. The night was quiet. Too quiet. Inside the old farmhouse, Jack slept lightly on the couch, rifle beside him. Sarah and Eula were asleep upstairs in a small room. Warm, safe, together. Or so they thought. At exactly 3 a.m., a tiny red light blinked on the roof. Then, a silent flash, a pulse. Invisible to the human eye, but strong enough to knock out all electronics. The lights in the farmhouse died. The old fridge stopped humming. The baby monitor Jack had placed near Eula's crib went dark. Jack sat up straight, instantly alert. "Sarah," he whispered, "wake up." But before he could move, the front door burst open. 3 men in black armor stormed in. Silent, trained, not human soldiers, off-world agents. They moved fast, using thermal visors. Jack raised his rifle, fired once, missed. A stun dart hit him in the shoulder. He dropped hard. Upstairs, Sarah woke with a jolt. But it was already too late. The crib was empty. She screamed. Something raw and alien. Her voice cracked the glass in the windows. She ran down the stairs, eyes glowing, hair floating with invisible energy. Her body changed. Scars along her arms opened to reveal glowing lines beneath like fire under skin. One of the agents turned, saw her, and froze. Subject Alpha, she's awake. But before he could raise his weapon, Sarah lifted her hand. No weapon, just will. The man flew backwards, slamming into the wall with a bone-shattering crunch. Jack groaned from the floor. Eula, they took her. Sarah didn't wait. She ran outside barefoot into the darkness. The agents ran to the black van parked behind the trees. Eula cried from inside a glass chamber, sealed, glowing, humming with alien tech. One of them, agents activated the thrusters. Go now! But before they could drive, boom. The van's engine exploded. Sarah appeared in front of them like a shadow made of light. Her hands glowed with power. Give, Me, my daughter, the lead agent, stepped out, calm and confident. You're impressive, but we both know you can't stop us all. He pressed a button on his wrist. 5 more ships uncloaked above the forest, hovering ready to strike. But Sarah didn't move back. She moved forward. I don't need to stop all of you. Just you. She raised her arms. The forest shook. Trees. Bent wind howled, and from the earth something answered her call. Roots glowing with alien light wrapping around the van, crushing it like paper. The chamber popped open. Eula floated into the air, into her mother's arms. The baby stopped crying. She cooed, touching Sarah's face. Behind them, one of the small ships opened fire, but before the blast could hit, a second explosion echoed across the sky. The ship spun and crashed into the trees. Jack stood in the distance holding a stolen alien launcher. Smoke surrounded him. Told you, he said, coughing. You'd have to go through me. The remaining ships fled. The agents retreated, but the damage was done. Sarah held her baby tightly, her breath shaky. She looked at Jack, her eyes full of emotion. I almost lost her. But you didn't, Jack said. You got her back. He stepped forward, put a hand on her shoulder. You saved her. She looked down at Eula. No, we did. But far above them, in orbit, a dark command center received the footage, and a cold voice spoke from the shadows. They've gone too far. Send the order. Next time, we take the man. The farmhouse was burning. Black smoke drifted into the gray morning sky. The agents had returned hours after the fight, this time only to destroy what remained. When Jack and Sarah came back, it was already too late. Their shelter, gone. Jack stood silently among the ashes. Sarah held Eula tightly in her arms, wrapped in a blanket, her face empty of emotion. Jack clenched his fists. They won't stop. Sarah didn't answer. Not because she didn't care, but because she already knew. Few hours later, they found shelter in an old storm bunker deep in the woods. Jack had helped build it when he was a teenager. It had no windows, no comfort, but for now it was safe. As the baby slept, Jack sat near the entrance, staring into the trees. Sarah walked over and sat beside him. She didn't speak for a long time. Finally, Jack broke the silence. You should leave. Sarah looked at him confused. What? Take Eula. Find one of your kind, another world, somewhere far. I can't protect you anymore. Sarah's eyes filled with quiet pain. You say, we are not your problem? Jack looked away. You were never supposed to be. But we are. He didn't answer. You saved us, she said softly. When I could not run, when I had no strength, you gave us warmth. You gave Eula a name. Jack stood up, voice tense. I'm just a man, Sarah. I chop wood, I grow vegetables. I was never built for this. You were built for kindness. That hit him harder than any punch. They'll keep coming, he whispered. They'll destroy anyone who helps you. I just want to live my life. Quietly. I'm not some hero. Then why are you still standing beside us? She asked. Jack opened his mouth. Closed it. No answer. That evening, a military drone passed overhead. It didn't stop, but it meant one thing. Time was running out. They had to move again. Sarah packed what little food was left. She carefully tied Eula to her chest with cloth and adjusted her cloak. Jack handed her a map. Follow this trail, cross the river, stay under the trees. There's an old mining town. No cameras, no people. You might find someone to help you there. She looked at the map, then at him. And you? I'll stay. Make sure they follow me instead. Her voice cracked. They'll kill you, maybe. But if it keeps you safe. Sarah stepped forward. Her hand touched his. You don't have to be the hero. Just be the man who cared. He looked into her eyes, glowing, brave, full of pain and hope. "That's the problem," he said. "I do care." She started walking. He stood at the bunker entrance and watched her disappear into the trees with Eula. He stood there for a long time, alone. And then, something shifted inside him. A memory. That first night. The baby in the blanket. The first time she grabbed his finger. The first time Sarah whispered, "Thank you." He dropped the rifle and ran, through the trees, across the dirt path, into the wind. "Sarah!" he shouted. He saw her up ahead. She turned. He stopped in front of her, breathless. "Forget the map. Forget the plan." She stared at him. "Then what do we do?" He smiled, a little out of breath. "We do what family does. Stay together." Back in the command center orbiting Earth, a new face appeared on the screen. Woman-human in uniform, cold eyes. "The target has chosen them. The human is compromised." She turned to her soldiers. "Bring them all in, dead or alive." The wind howled through the ruins of the old mining town. Dust blew across broken signs and shattered windows. The place had been dead for years. Until now. Inside a hidden tunnel below the town, Jack sat quietly. Eula slept in his arms, wrapped in a soft blanket. Her little chest rose and fell peacefully. She didn't know she was being hunted. Sarah sat beside him, her eyes half closed, body weak from days of running. But she still smiled whenever she looked at her child. Jack gently brushed a lock of hair from Eula's face. "She's so small," he whispered. "But she carries a whole galaxy on her shoulders." Sarah nodded. "She is the first of her kind, human blood, an alien memory." Jack looked down. "She's not just yours now." Sarah tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "She's mine too. Maybe not by blood, but I've held her when she cried. Fed her when she was hungry. Fought for her when I should have run." He looked up, eyes filled with quiet strength. "I don't need papers. I don't need permission. She's my daughter now." Sarah's lips trembled. "Jack." "No. You don't have to say anything." He smiled. "Just let me carry her. As long as the stars let me." Far above Earth, the command ship hovered silently in orbit. Inside, the human woman in uniform, Director Elira Dane, stood at the front of the war room. Screens showed Jack's face. The child, the alien mother. "They've formed a bond," she said coldly. "Dangerous. Unnatural." She turned to her officers. "Deploy the harvest unit. Clean sweep. No witnesses." On the surface, ships broke through the clouds, silent, invisible. Drones surrounded the town. Soldiers moved in shadows, but Jack was already waiting. He stood outside the mine entrance, alone, a rifle in one hand, a beacon in the other. He activated the signal, from deep space. A reply came. Old satellites, abandoned probes, ancient AI war drones left by humans who vanished long ago. They all woke up, and they all turned toward Earth. Inside the mine, Sarah held Eula close. "We have to run," she cried. "No," Jack said. "Not this time." He looked at them, one last time. "You gave me something I thought I lost, a reason, a family. Let me return the favor." He kissed Eula's forehead gently, then stepped outside. The soldiers came fast, guns aimed, drones hovering. The director's voice echoed from a loudspeaker. "Surrender now. You are harboring illegal life forms. You will be erased." Jack raised his head. "I'm not hiding anyone." "Where are they?" "Gone. Somewhere you'll never find them." She laughed through the speaker. "You think you can protect them?" "No," Jack said. He raised the beacon. "But we can." The sky roared. Old human tech, forgotten ships, long-lost defense AI, crashed down through the clouds like falling stars. The drones fought the soldiers. The satellites rained EMPs on the command ship. In space, the director's screen went black. Then her ship exploded. Back on Earth, the dust settled. The battle was over. Jack lay on the ground, bleeding but smiling. Sarah ran to him, holding Eula. He looked up at the stars. "She'll be okay, right?" Sarah knelt beside him. "She will. Because of you." Tears rolled down her face. "You are more than human." He chuckled weakly. "No, I'm just her, Dad." And then he closed his eyes. Peacefully. 6 years later, a child with glowing eyes ran through a field of stars. Behind her, alien children and human children laughed together. A new world had risen from the ashes of the old. A small schoolhouse stood in the middle of a green hill. Inside, a statue stood at the entrance. It was Jack, smiling, holding a child. The plaque below it read, "He adopted them without papers, but the universe called him father."